present in person. Consent agenda warrant number 19, 11/20/2020. Oh, excuse me, 11/22/2020. Number 20, 11/22/2020. Payroll register number 48, 11/25/2020, and number 49, 12/3/2020.
Make a motion to approve.
Second as read.
We have a motion and a second to approve as read. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. Have a application for liquor license for American Legion Post 39, Tardif Belanger.
Make a motion, we give them the liquor license.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the liquor license for Tardif Belanger, American Legion Post number 39. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. Have a Beano bingo registration for American Legion Post 39 in Tardif Belanger for 1 year for 2021.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Beano registration for American Legion Post 39. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries.
This is for the liquor license.
It's tough tonight, I look both left and right, holy mackerel. Huh? All right, we're looking for letter D, acceptance of the meeting minutes from November 23rd, 2020.
Make a motion, accept them.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the meeting minutes of November 23rd, 2020. And I believe Mr. Moody wasn't here.
I'll abstain.
All those in favor? We have 4 in favor, we have 1 abstention. Motion carries. Old business. Mrs. Dwyer?
None for me.
Mr. Moody?
None, sir.
Mr. Savage?
None for me.
Mr. Gopi?
None.
Items of communication, Mr. Town Manager?
Just a couple of things. I wanted to report that White Auto Body at 957 Lakewood Road, they have filed an appeal on the Select Board's decision to deny their application for a salvage yard. So I have sent that document along with all the other documents regarding that decision to Drew Ketterer, who serves as the chair of the appeals board. And so he'll be reviewing that and letting me know what the process is going forward. I also had a conversation last week with David Silk, who is our attorney in the Madison paper case. He said that that process has begun, and so a brief has been filed with the Maine Supreme Court by Madison paper UPM, and we have until mid-January to file our brief. Dave Silk said there's really not a whole lot that has changed since the very first arguments back with the State Board of Property Tax Review. So he's not planning on rewriting a whole lot. And so the timeline on that is, right now the Supreme Court is taking everything by Zoom. So it all depends on whether they want to judge this case on the merits of just the written briefs, or if they want to call in both attorneys for hearings and oral arguments. They anticipate that process will happen in the spring, and they'll probably render a decision by June or July of 2021. So the timing would be good for the board, as you'll probably have, town meeting done and setting your tax rate ahead of you by the time you hear as to what the result is of the Madison paper case.
So if that goes in our favor, everything's in their favor, our favor, everything's over, correct?
Right, that would be, but this is the last appeal, my understanding.
So we don't have an appeal after that?
For us to appeal?
Yeah.
I don't know the process there. I'm not
Okay.
hoping we don't have to find out.
Hopefully we don't have to find out, but, okay.
Most of you may know, but I wanted to say publicly that our longtime custodian, Christina Stratton, has given notice that she will be done at the end of this year. And I wanted to publicly thank Christine for the work that she's done over the last 25 years for the town in that position. Right now we're making provisions to cover probably through the remainder of the fiscal year, and we have reached out to a couple of different agencies to give us quotes. Because just like everything else, after 25 years, you don't really know what the market is out there for that types of services. So we're in the process of doing that now. I just want to let you know that the town office will be closed next Thursday and Friday, the 24th and 25th for Christmas. We close the following Friday for New Year's Day, and we'll be closing at noontime on December 31st, New Year's Eve. Next board meeting will be almost a month, so the next scheduled board meeting will be January the 11th from today. There'll probably be another warrant later on at the end of December, so Monday the 28th will probably be another warrant, and you'll get a call from Kathy or Tammy to come in and sign that warrant. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. New business, we have department head reports, we have the sheriff's report that was sent to us, and we have the fire chief's report, which is should be on your desk. Mr. Road Commissioner. If you have any questions on those, please get them out.
Well, we've had a few storms that we've had to plow, and it gives us some time to get caught up on some of the maintenance around the garage. Been doing some painting inside and outside on the water days. Spent a couple days cleaning up some of the cemeteries. We went out to the Kincaid Road and trimmed the whole perimeter of that, the crew did, and chipped all the brush, and spent three-quarters of the day up in the Forest Hills Cemetery and cut some of those tree lines back, so because the brush was encroaching on some of the graves. I'd like to thank Donnie and Danny and the crew of the Madison Fire Department for the superb job that they did last Saturday night during that ice/blizzard snowstorm. They did a fantastic job of keeping ahead of the plow trucks and keeping the main roads open, and it was very much appreciated.
Great, thank you. Any questions? All right, number 2, discuss commercial hauler tipping fees for waste management.
All right, so in your packets, there was plenty of information, I believe, and probably even more that I maybe sent after the packets went out. But where I'd like to start is in the ordinance itself, which is chapter 327, and I'm not sure if this ordinance got to you in your packets in its entirety, because there were some pieces that were printed front and back and other pieces. But I just want to draw your attention to probably the main part that I will admit that we've really been remiss at the town office. And that is, every year we are required by this ordinance to check to make sure that every commercial hauler that picks up trash in Madison is properly licensed through DEP and has the proper insurances. And we have 6 haulers that do business in Madison, and when I checked with DEP, there were issues with 2 of them. And so both of those haulers have been contacted, and both of those issues are being squared away as you know at this moment. So in your packet, I had put a kind of a beefed up license application. I think I showed you as comparison the current one, which has very little data on it, and then there's a proposed one that has a whole lot more information on it. And the reason I point to the proposed one is that it states right in there that whoever hauls solid waste in Madison will have to have the license provided by DEP, and we'll have to have a copy of that, plus a copy of their liability, auto insurance, and workers' comp insurance. So we kind of try to cover all of our bases in this new application. The way we process these at the town office is they return to us before July 1st, so in May or June we try to get the information out to the hauler. Some are better than others at getting back to us, and we try to get this signed, and so they have a hauler number to be able to do that, and it's only good for 1 year. Again, that's according to our ordinance. So there's 2 licenses. One they have to have from DEP, and they renew that every 2 years, and then they have to have our local license, which renews every year, to be a commercial hauler of solid waste in town. So that's kind of the process. In doing that, we started looking at our costs associated with this. And I apologize if I'm throwing a lot of sheets at you, but this sheet may have come to you, and I don't know if you have it in your packets. This sheet may have come to you in a email after the fact. But I'll just point out a couple of things here. Our costs associated with the front gate have gone up substantially every year over the last 5 years. And part of that is the number of tons of municipal solid waste that Madison is paying for has gone up by 272 tons over the last 5 years. Now, you try to figure out where all that extra tonnage of solid waste is coming from. Well, maybe more people are using commercial haulers and less people are going to the back gate. Well, I did some research on the back gate, and those numbers over the last 5 years have stayed pretty much the same at the back gate, if not gone up just a little bit. So, is everyone familiar with the back gate, front gate, and how that operates? Okay. So, one of the struggles that we, and just about any town that pays tipping fees at Waste Management, the struggle that you have is you're not able to verify where the extra waste is coming from. And it's impossible to verify all that the town is paying for is generated from Madison. I think that the amount of trash that the town of Madison is paying for at the front gate is alarmingly high. And so I've brought this up at meetings in the past, and I guess we'll have the conversation again tonight if you want to go there. I believe it may be time to have the town stop paying the tipping fee at the front gate. Let me be clear, I'm not talking about doing anything at the back gate. The back gate would remain as it works right now. Any residential customer can take their trash, recycling, bulky goods, mattresses, air conditioners, they can take their own to the back gate. I'm not talking about changing that. I'm talking about subsidizing the commercial hauler that takes the trash to the front gate and the impact that has on the town's budget. So,
How much money is that? 142?
this year we anticipate it to be about $142,000, just in the front gate.
And how many, there's 6 haulers, and how many people do they haul for?
I'm gonna estimate high, I'm gonna guess high at about 900. When we did these numbers 5 years ago, there were 804 customers. When you added up what Three Rivers and Gregory's and Somerset, and what everybody told us, we came up with about 804. So I'm guessing it's a little bit higher than it was 5 years ago, but I can't imagine it's that much higher. The only real way to find out is to pick up the phone and call every one of them and say, how many customers do you have in Madison? And hope you can get that answer from them.
Any comments? All right, so I don't know if we're handling this all as one piece, or you want to handle it piece by piece, like this recycling license. I mean, I think we talk about that first, and then we'll get into the other part. I mean, does anybody have any objection to changing to this type of license for the 2020-21 year?
I just
Mr. Savage.
a couple questions. It looks
Yeah.
like we currently charge $250 and it's going down to $25.
Well, I probably got a little ahead of myself here in this draft, and all this is a draft.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. If we did take my recommendation to stop paying the tipping fee, I was going to suggest the license fee go down.
Okay.
So if we didn't, then I would, we raised that license fee from $50 to $250 about 5 years ago. So I thought if we're going to take away the tipping fee subsidy, we would lower the cost of the license. But that's all up to discussion. So.
Mr. Moody.
I think it's a long time coming that we haven't retained copies or required copies of these haulers' licenses to have on file. So that, I mean, it's just, that's just good management and, as far as the town goes. And I don't have any problem with that whatsoever, and I think it's a great thing, and we just gotta wait to run it, through town meeting, because it's an ordinance, policy.
But I would say that this application is in the selectmen's purview. There's nothing that requires this to go to town meeting.
No, aren't you gonna change it in the policy also?
Change what, in the ordinance?
Yeah.
The ordinance already, we just haven't been following what the ordinance says. The ordinance already requires us to do this.
Oh.
We've just been remiss in doing it.
Yeah, all right, all
And
right,
by we, I mean me.
yeah, all right.
So I think if we are okay with that, we'll just wait on the fee.
Mhm.
All right, so, I mean, I'll start here. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm opposed to stopping, paying the tipping fees at the front gate. I do definitely want that gate to stay open. I think that's an important aspect, and town meeting will crucify that plan. And they'll take every other plan with it, because they want their back gate. It's still my time to drive to Norwich Walk and throw the dump out and get a coffee and all that good stuff. As far as the front gate goes, I like to do a little more investigating. I like to see if we can get these haulers to come and talk to us about, their thoughts on it. I mean, I don't want Grammy to have to stop getting her trash hauled because she can't pay the fee to the company that's hauling it. That's been my concern years ago. Because we've dealt with this every 2 to 3 years since I've been on here. We've talked about it all along. So I mean, I think if we can get these guys to come and talk to them and try to see if they can help us figure out why we have so much trash. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I think, and if there's a problem, then let's investigate the problem and see what the problem is.
And I agree with you 100%. I, for one, is gonna be one of the last people that say to our seniors out here on Social Security that your trash is gonna go up a third more, and they can't afford it. Then the next thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna ride down 201A and you're gonna see garbage bags over the side of the bank, because they're just gonna take a short trip down the road and not go all the way. And I feel the same way that you feel, as far as there seems to be a problem. We don't seem to have a handle on what the problem is. Why in 5 years has it progressed this much? And I think, insight from these haulers might help us out some. I agree with you there. And I think we need to bring those people in here to help us solve this problem. I mean, they're the ones that's hauling this stuff. They're the ones that has the business. Tell us how, we can save some money for the town. $140,000 a year is a lot of money. But right now, you're not gonna convince me that we should eliminate that and put the burden back onto these senior citizen people, or anybody.
Mr. Gilpin.
Yes, I got a couple. Earlier you mentioned there was, the haulers you checked, there was 2 violations. Can you tell me what they are?
One of them was a company that had let their renewal lapse. They were due in June of this past year, and they haven't renewed yet, but they're in the process of being renewed again. So they had a valid license. It is expired in June. The other company was bought by another company, and that turned out to be the reason why they didn't have an updated license.
Okay.
So we used to have 7 haulers in town, but Casella's has bought Central Maine Disposal, so now they're together.
Now, how come you want to change the fee from $250 to $25?
I just thought if you are taking away the tipping fee, then that's a substantial amount of money over the course of a year that we're subsidizing these businesses. So I thought to soften that, we would reduce the fee. but perhaps one doesn't have anything to do with the other.
The only, I'm not sure what was in there, but to me it would be, cheaper it is, more haulers you're gonna have. Guy with a pickup, going around hauling,
You know,
people like that.
you still have to get that DEP license, and a DEP license requires that you have the proper type of vehicle.
Okay.
Tim, I'd like to ask if we can ask Waste Management what they can do to help us. What kind of, can they require a hauler to have a log sheet of where they picked up from? Specifically 23 Pond Street, 18 Pond Street, I mean, where I picked, not Madison, not East Madison, but specifically, is there any spot checking that they do or can do?
In my experience, the only spot checking that Waste Management will do is at our request, they will dump part of a load over to the side. And then they'll go through that load and see if there's any addresses in there from Skowhegan, Waterville, Fairfield that are being charged to Madison. As far as a requirement for a log sheet, I don't know if Waste Management would do that. It's certainly, we could ask each of the haulers to give us their route sheets. I'm assuming that they have something written down that indicates what each driver does on every day.
Right. We're gonna talk about the trucks they have also being secure and not dumping trash, not dumping water all over the place.
That's part of the DEP license requiring that their vehicles don't leak, that their vehicles are up to code and properly inspected and that sort of thing. That's right there in that DEP license.
I was thinking that's gonna be real complicated if you have them make a log like that. Maybe they could put something like, on Mondays I just pick up in Madison. On Tuesdays I just pick up wherever they pick up from.
Yeah.
And then
I think you want something that's a little more detailed.
I don't know how you're gonna do that.
Moody.
Bobby, I don't think that'll work, because if they don't have a full load in one day, you see what I'm saying, they're not gonna wanna go down there with a partial load. But I think,
Well, maybe they could split it and say, oh, well, I picked up Anson and Madison, so they split the weight cost.
but I really think that to get to the bottom of this problem, we need these haulers in here they understand this better than we do.
Right.
Maybe they got some good ideas that we could feed off of, as far as that goes. But I think we're just assuming and maybe whatever, without having them here to give us solid answers to some of these questions. We'll be here all night discussing this thing.
Well, maybe they will say, we'll pay the tipping cost.
I don't think so.
I don't know, but.
They're gonna have to pass that on
Right.
to the people.
Right.
And I just did a little quick math here on mine. I know all halls have different prices, but on the hall I'd have an increase of like $160
A month.
a month. No,
For the year.
For the year.
I pay $204 now, so you add another $160 onto that.
Savage, anything?
I guess on this commercial hauling in the front gate, the 1978 tons, do we know if that's just like household trash, or is that demo, is that everything that goes in there, or?
That is only supposed to be household trash.
That's a lot of household trash.
That's all that we're supposed to pay for. Because on the front gate, if a hauler brings in construction demo, they're supposed to pay for that on their own. If they bring any, bulky waste like couches or stuff like that, they're supposed to pay for that on their own at the front.
We stopped paying for that demo a few years ago. We did pay for that too.
At the front
At
gate?
the front gate.
Yeah, I believe that
We
might have been
we
before
paid for
mine.
that too, but we stopped doing that a few years ago, and we kept the municipal solid waste going.
Right. I don't mind, and I think it's probably a good use of time to reach out and talk to all the haulers and take your time and let them know that you're considering this change and try to get their input. But the fact of the matter is, I think every one of them will tell you that mixing of loads happens. You've got part of Athens, Solon, Madison, you're just coming down the line and you're going to waste management. They're all going to tell you that happens.
Has there been anybody recently that has stopped paying tipping fees?
Years ago, in the last town manager, Dana, he had an agreement with Bolsters because they were habitual at stopping. And they paid their own tipping fees for a while. But they approached me a couple of years ago saying, we've got such little business in Madison that, you know, what harm would it be to have Madison pay the tipping fees? So they're on the list now, but they're only 2% of the haulers that pick up in Madison Bolsters.
Right.
They only got a few canisters. So, but the other thing that Mr. Savage mentioned, the other thing that you know is going on, but you really can't stop it, is if they're mixing demo in with municipal waste and bringing it all over, and that's how the town is being charged more tonnage, but it's not all municipal waste. There's some demo in there as well. And in the warrant that you just signed here, there's a lot of work going on. Well into October, November, there are people working. And 51 tons of demo went to the back gate last month in November. That's 51 tons of people bringing asphalt shingles and pressure treated in their pickup trucks and throwing it in the back gate. So there's a lot of demo still
Just
going around.
Instead of having a commercial hauler haul it, with just somebody just bringing it in the truck and they're going around the barn to get us to pay for it anyways.
It's quite possible that that's going on, that a hauler takes demo and then someone takes their private vehicle in
Yeah.
and it gets charged to the town.
So is there something we can ask Waste Management that if for a certain period of time, we can check
Yeah.
loads from various companies? I mean, off and on, see what's there? I mean, I know if you broadcast that and say you're gonna do that, then nobody's gonna have anything that they shouldn't have in there. But if you do it randomly, I think you might be able to find something like that out. Yes, Phil?
I guess realistically, how many tons does a family generate of garbage? Let's say a four-person household. A ton is a lot of garbage. Okay? A ton is, you have a lot of paper, you have a lot of plastic, sometimes you have some glass. So if you take 900 customers at a ton, that's 900 ton. That's $65,000.
Yeah. And I think you can find that out, right? I mean, that recycle, I can remember on the recycling committee, we had all those figures on how much garbage a person or a family should produce.
Right, generally it's between 1 and 2 tons. So that's depending on the size of your family and how often you go to the dump.
And if you just divide these numbers out, it's about 4,000 pounds per customer, which is
How much?
about 4,000 pounds per customer.
It's 2 tons.
Yeah, but that's a lot of household trash.
It is a lot. Yeah. But again, when you have the customers, you do have residential customers that maybe have 2 bags of garbage a week, and then you got some business customers. So I'm assuming, Mr. Agopi, your account's a business account? That's why you pay $200-300 a year.
On my store,
Right.
I get cardboard,
Yeah.
that's all I get.
Yeah. So a residential individual might only put a few bags of garbage out every week, whereas if somebody has a 4-yard container, either for their apartment house or for their business or something like that, obviously that one's going to take more than just a couple of bags of garbage.
So are you happy on, are you satisfied on the direction we want to go in?
So far what I'm hearing you saying is you want to get feedback from the haulers. You'd like to have the haulers come and meet with you, either in person or by Zoom. You'd like to have Waste Management check some loads for us.
Yep.
And we can certainly set that up. And I think I'm gonna go back and since I'm gonna be calling these haulers anyway, maybe get at least at the very least, a list of their number of Madison customers.
Yep.
And if they have a route sheet, maybe they can share that route sheet information.
That might get, I mean, if we had a list of customers and how many, it might give us some idea of, you know, how far off these numbers are.
Right.
Stewie?
What penalty is there, or is there a penalty, if some of these haulers go in there, waste management, so to speak, and they get caught with mixed loads? What, is there anything that waste management addresses with them? Okay, so they've been notified that, okay, you're not supposed to do this, correct?
That's right.
Next month, they go back in and do that again, you're not supposed to do this, okay? So they, next month, what is there to prevent this from ongoing?
So the town of Madison can do two things. They can eliminate the tipping fee. In other words, no longer will they subsidize that haul. If they find you have one, that's kind of what Dana was doing with bolsters back 7 or 8 years ago. You had one hauler that was a repeat offender, and the town says, okay, all it takes, it doesn't take an act of Congress, all it takes is your vote and then a call to waste management, and that hauler is off the list. So when they bring a load in from Madison, they're responsible for paying for it. So you have that, or you can basically give them the death penalty and say, you're no longer licensed at all to haul trash from Madison. Now, how you regulate that comes back to code enforcement and other enforcement, actually chasing people around to make sure they're not picking up trash.
But if we've got an understanding, and if waste management does this, if they would check this tonnage that's coming in, and okay, there's a violation, they give us a call and say, this hauler has just violated on this date. And then again, they violated again. Somewhere along the line here, we've got to set a line to say that if you're in violations twice, 3 times, we're going to pull your licenses from exercising, hauling in this town. I mean, you got to have a threat here somewhere.
Well, the threat
But if waste management will work with us on something like that.
The threat has always been the tipping fee. And that's the town has never gone quite that far.
Well, that's fine, I mean, but there's got to be a penalty here somewhere for violations. If not, I mean, I'm gonna keep going back to the cookie jar.
Well, maybe a person we should have in here is somebody from Waste Management along with these haulers. Maybe there is. Maybe Waste Management has something in place. Say, if they come with a mixed load, they pay for it.
We don't know.
Right, that's one.
That's why we need these people in front of us so that we can get a.
Maybe we need somebody from Waste Management too.
Well, we could do that, but the people I've talked to at Waste Management have told me, plain and simple, it's not their business to regulate who's bringing what.
All right.
It's their business to weigh it and sign the tickets.
So they can bring in debris and trash, the same thing, and Waste Management doesn't care because they all put it in one same spot?
Waste Management will try to let the municipality know that there's a hauler that's doing that. But at the end of the day, once it's across the scales, Waste Management's gonna take it.
No, it's more tipping fee for them, they're making more money.
Right.
But we can ask them, if we can ask them to check it and say,
Right,
and call you and say, this has just happened.
right.
On 12/14/2020, this hauler just came through with this, and then we can act on that after.
We can, yeah.
Seb?
Does Waste Management even have any interest or time to go through, a truckload of trash? I mean, that's labor intensive.
Within reason, they will offer that.
So once or twice a year, which wouldn't.
Well, I don't know, I think what we'd ask for is, to start with these 6 haulers and just randomly spot
Just
check
seems
these.
like we're asking them a lot. I mean, it's pretty labor intensive to go through a truckload of garbage bags.
Right, again, their response is, we're here to serve the municipality, we're not here to do the municipality good job of governing this.
Right.
So,
Moody?
It's, I lost my train of thought.
All right, so we'll look at that for, in January.
So how would you like to facilitate it at the next meeting in January? Would you like a public hearing, or would you just like to invite the haulers to have a conversation and you get your feedback from them?
I think a public hearing would be the way to go.
We certainly can do both, but also a public hearing will allow members of the public to give you feedback on what they're concerned about.
Yeah, I think a public hearing would be good. Mr. Gopi?
Yeah,
And I think the public also needs to come out and voice their opinion. I mean, this doesn't have to go to town meeting, so if we'll, whatever we decide, but I don't want it to go, us to make this change, and then all of a sudden somebody stand up at town meeting and say, start going at us because they gotta pay more in trash disposal.
Right. I'll just say one more thing, and this is an example of where you can really let the market dictate. If you eliminate the subsidies, then every one of these haulers on this sheet has a choice to make, because they're all going to lose money from the subsidy of the town. And each one of them will have a choice to make, how much of that, if any, do I pass on to each one of my customers? And because it's a market out there, if they make the error and pass on too much, there may be another hauler that will come in and say, I'll do it for less. And so, in one sense, you're regulating to make sure that everybody has a licensed commercial hauler to pick up their garbage, but at the same time, you're letting the market decide what the cost of that is going to be. And right now, with a $140,000 subsidy, it's not a level playing field.
Savage.
I guess my only other comment on this is this really any different than the subsidy we pretty much just removed from the Lakewood Theater? I mean, we were pretty much giving them a subsidy every year, and we said, let's not do that because it's not the right thing to do with tax dollars. I mean, is this really any different?
Well, I mean, there's similarities. I mean, the scope and size is very different, but the principle was, it was a good intention to support Lakewood Theater with an automatic $5,000 grant every year.
Well, it seems like kind of what we're doing here also.
And the board changed that to bring it to town meeting for a vote. In this case here, I don't know how it started. I was talking to Jeff about this the other day. I don't know enough history about when Waste Management opened up, what you guys did when we burned stuff down here on Ash Street years ago. So I don't know when it started that the towns around here, Madison, Anson, Emden, Smithfield, Rome, Vienna, New Sharon, all those towns at one point decided, we're gonna pick up the tipping fees because it seems like it's the right thing to do. Well, Madison is by far the largest of those communities that pay the tipping fees. And so, in my opinion, we're the easiest one to take advantage of because we won't notice it. If Rome had another 300 tons, you think Rome would notice that? Sure they would. Vienna, New Sharon, but all those little towns, you add them all up, and Madison's about the size of all of them. So.
I mean, Scouting's picking up the tipping fee too, right? By having,
Right, but they have more regulation because
they
they
have
have their own transfer
they have their
station.
own transfer station. They're still picking up the tipping fee.
Right, that's true, but they have more control over what goes there.
Mr. Gopi?
I think if we're going to eliminate the tipping fee, we need more things in our thing, and I think it should stay at $200. And then one of the things is something like Moody mentioned, that you should have it, if they mix trash and construction, make it very clear, construction is not one of the, well, you won't be paying it, we won't be paying it anyway.
If you did eliminate tipping fees, right, you eliminate that, trying to track all that down.
And then they shouldn't do any, doesn't matter what they do.
That's right,
They pay for the load.
right.
All right, any other questions? Comments?
I just have a question. So this $142,000 will go away if we eliminate the tipping fee?
Yes.
No brainer, as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
Again, not to drag up old fights, but when you have
Or
recycling,
new, so-
when you have recycling and you're paying $40,000 for one hauler to pick up recycling, the issue was you were paying for something with taxpayer dollars that are generated by all taxpayers that only about 150 to 200 residents were using out of our 2,400 households. And in this case, you have 800 to 900 residents that are using a service that, yes, they're paying for, but they're paying a subsidized rate because the town is paying these tipping fees. All of the taxpayers are paying those tipping fees.
Well, you're gonna get that though, you're gonna get that when you leave the back gate open. You're gonna get that argument again. Right, because you're paying the tipping fees for less than, well, be more than that, right?
But I'm paying the tipping fees at the back gate to the benefit of the taxpayer. I'm paying the tipping fees at the front gate to the benefit of the commercial hauler.
Yes.
Well, it's to the taxpayer and the commercial hauler.
Right, but at the back gate, it's just for the taxpayer.
Okay.
Because they have to go out and pick up the trash themselves.
Yeah. I just don't know, I mean, I just don't know, you know, I don't know if the person, I don't wanna say Grammy all the time, but if Grampy can't pay the person to take his trash, what's he gonna do with it? And he doesn't have anybody else to do it, to take it for him. He's gonna throw it out back? And leave it there? I mean, is that our problem?
It becomes our problem when it's a property maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody that I've ever addressed about bags of trash being either in their front yard or stocked up in a room that everybody could see, or on their driveway, surprisingly, once I send them a letter, they find a way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows somebody with a pickup truck, and we don't give anybody a hard time about getting a dump sticker to go to the back gate. So
It's the
$150,000, any idea what that is savings per tax bill on a $100,000 house?
it equates to about 40 cents on the dollar. So every dollar on your tax rate raises $340,000. So you take 140 of that, it's about 40%. So it's about 40 cents on the dollar. So if you've got a $100,000 house, you're saving about $40 a year on your taxes if you cut 140 out of the budget.
So it's really not a huge increase for the couple dollar increase from the hauler for the tipping fees that's passed on to the customer. You know, if they raise their price by $5 a month, it's $60 a year. So it's a $20 increase. It's not a huge
It's 160,
per month.
no, per year. So it's gonna be over $10
So how do you know that, Mr. Gold?
Well-
Because you just did the math, right?
Right, I paid, like I said, I paid, you said we had approximately 900 customers.
Right.
I divided that into the 142.
Yep.
Okay, and that came out to 158, and I paid 204, so I had 204 and 158 come out to $360, close to it.
But that's if the hauler you use chooses to raise your rate by that much. It's not automatic.
Right,
And you
Right.
you could shop around and say, hey, what do you do this for? What do you do this for?
right.
So,
And that's why I said this was mine, because I don't know what the other 5 haulers charge. I know
Right.
what mine charges.
right.
But you have a commercial account, correct?
No,
No.
I have household. I don't need one, because I can get rid of the cardboard myself, it's no big deal. That's all basically I have.
So you pay $50 a week? You pay $50 a week to just take your household trash?
No, no. Well, let's see.
You said you
No,
pay...
I pay 17, should be
Oh,
17.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You pay $200 a year, right, okay.
Yeah.
So, I hear people saying that, I kind of sensing that people want to vote on this. Is that, do we want to wait or we want
I don't wanna vote on it.
Why don't we just get the people in here?
Yeah.
Get those 6 people in here.
to?
I need some more feedback, and I need feedback from the people that are doing this job. I mean, yeah, I understand, you know, we have a problem here, and the problem being is, and we don't have the answer to, why is this going up so much in 5 years? I'm sure that the population hasn't gone up that much in this town, that's for darn sure. And I think we need the help or the feedback from these haulers, you know, to generate some type of direction here, or so that we can make up our mind what to do. You know, I've gotta be convinced that I need to have these people, these taxpayers out here paying more money for their trash, and I'm not convinced of that yet.
All right, any other?
I just want to go back to the math. I'm just trying to get the difference, what it would be. What, Mr. Gopian, would we want to divide the 142, or would you want to take the figure from the business that's providing you service to come up with that increase?
I don't wanna pay anymore.
Well,
So
I understand that.
I can't pitch a hauler saying, okay, sure, I'll pick up my share of the, whatever I have to pay on the, I don't think that's gonna happen,
That's a good question for them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree, that's gonna be their complaint, is we can't afford to run a business for that. But
Right.
just trying to figure an increase, would we figure it off the 142,000, or would we figure off the increase on what your hauler actually charges, gets paid out for a year? So say you use Three Rivers,
Yeah,
they spent $21,000, would we use that number for an increase, or would we use the whole 142? And what I'm trying to do is figure out, can you save enough over the tax savings to make up for that? That's what I'm trying to calculate.
no matter how you look at it, I'm gonna have an increase. And so is the haul, if, how much of an increase, that's something those haulers are gonna have to work out among themselves.
I think most of those, like Three Rivers, that wouldn't be that much of an increase, right?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
But, I mean, for.
Whoa, wait, they gotta go down and pay so much per ton,
Right.
whatever Waste Management charges them.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
So that's a
But I'm
fee
just
that I'm
saying-
picking up.
Over history for them, right? That's how much they,
Right.
that's how much they have paid, would have paid if they would have taken Madison trash to there and paid for it themselves. Right? Now,
Okay.
Somerset disposal is a different story. That's gonna be expensive for those customers.
It's all gonna be different, that's why everybody jump on the cheap guy.
And I understand also that some of these haulers, you get limited to X number of bags of garbage. If you go beyond that, they charge you extra.
So
We
that's
have haulers that
that's an
have-
incentive to recycle more.
Yeah.
And that's not unusual. Many haulers pay by, or charge you per bag.
Well,
And it-
Three
these-
Rivers had that.
Right.
Well, I mean, if
Three Rivers.
you're a family that,
Three Rivers doesn't
you got 3 bags
have
of garbage a week, I mean,
Depends
by
on what
these
program
figures
you have.
here, you'd be
Yeah.
having 6 bags of garbage, you're gonna eat twice as much. You know, it just doesn't mesh here. Something wrong with this program.
Alright, so we'll move that over to,
What, do we have any haulers that do bags?
I believe Three Rivers used to, I don't know if they still do or not.
Yeah, they used to.
Recycling is not the business it used to be, so. Yeah, there's just not as much incentive to recycle as there used to
Some days it's one bag, and then another week it's, if Trudy starts cleaning things out in the house, then we got a whole bunch of bags.
be. You don't have to put any clothes in the garbage, because these people come and pick up this clothes thing. It's full every week. So,
Yeah. Alright, so we'll review audited financials for fiscal year 20.
So all you have in your packet is a little history I did on undesignated fund balance. It looks like this. So we have received our draft of the financials from R.H.R. Smith, and Tammy's going over them in great detail. I'm going over them in slight detail. And so there are certain things I look for in the audit every year, just to see how much of our net position has changed, how are our revenues and expenses in comparison to what we budgeted. And then I've always looked at undesignated fund balance, because that is one of the key elements that you can pinpoint in an audit and you can actually go back and track it year after year. And it kind of gives you a designation of the health of your savings and how taxpayers want us to track and spend that savings. So for those who maybe have not been around this year after year, I gave you this spreadsheet to show way back in 2014, which we refer to as the good old days when Madison paper was valued at $230 million. We had a fairly healthy fund balance of $2.5 million and a tax rate of 19.5. After Madison paper's drastic reduction in value in 2014, town meeting voted to take $1.4 million of that fund balance and use it to offset taxes. What that did essentially was drive our fund balance down to 1.1 million and then 982,000 in the next couple of years, but also we had to raise our tax rate because once you use that big surplus of 1.4 million, you have to reduce your budgets because you don't have that 1.4 million to add in every year. So our budgets kind of leveled out, and then we were able to add back to the fund balance in 17 and 18. And if you go all the way over to the right, you'll see the major player of that was the overlay, where you as selectmen now have the purview to set the tax rate and to determine how much overlay you put in that. And so while this board has been struggling with the decisions of what to do with the tax rate and how much to overlay, you always had these lawsuits out there that you were hanging over your head. What if you had to pay Madison paper back money? What if you had to pay Eagle Creek back money? So that's always factored into much higher overlays than we ever did traditionally before. Back before 2014, you rarely saw an overlay above $25,000, $30,000. Usually they're very, very tight, very small. So those larger overlays have allowed us to be more consistent now with our fund balance. And you can see in 2018 and 2019, we actually took some of that money that we didn't use and town meeting approved putting it back towards offsetting taxes. So the good news is in 2020, this is just from this week's audit, it's back up to 1.66 million. That's the highest it's been since 2014. And we did not contribute any money from fund balance to the budget that we're in now. So when this budget completes, we would anticipate that June 30th, 2021, we would actually have a higher fund balance than this. So it's a good thing, and it allows the town to be in a position to have it there if we need it, to carry forward, to pay for things in the budget, or to offset taxes, especially in a very uncertain time. If you remember back last May, June, July, when we were talking about budgets, we were very unsure about revenues. Revenues have actually been better than we feared they would be, but this makes it helpful to know that we're not bleeding fund balance as we continue to go forward. And it goes without saying, but it's worth saying, I mean, Tammy Carrier and Kathy Estes do an excellent job of monitoring our finances. So, board, any questions about that?
Any questions? We'll get them, after you guys go through it, we'll get the...
So this is draft number one. Every audit is behind. That's usually we'd have this in October, but due to COVID and all that, every audit's about 2 or 3 months behind. So I would imagine by the first of the year, you'll have your bound copies of the audit that you can study page for page if you'd like.
Okay. Any questions? All right, number 4, discuss schedule for town manager review.
Typically, this is on the agenda at the end of every December. In your packets that were in your mailboxes, I believe I dropped off the actual questionnaire that we have used for the last 4 years, I believe, for town manager review. And also in your packets, I gave a copy of the 2020 goals and some notes that I put in there as for how I believe the progress is being made on those goals. So I just leave that for you for your review, and I leave it in the chairman's hands to determine the schedule for the town manager evaluation. Typically, it's usually done around the first meeting in February.
All right, so why don't we schedule that for, now, we've done this a number of ways. One way,
4 or 5 years ago, we got into taking this document that he gave us, filling it out, and getting it to somebody, compiling it, and coming back with kind of getting, everybody, their ratings in and coming up with our determination. Recently, though, we've done it in the same meeting. So when we schedule this meeting, we'd go around the table and, kind of get an idea of where we'd like to be. All right, we would like the town manager to be, what we think of in these different categories. So we can do it however you want. All right, if we want to look this over, what we can do is come back and see if there's anything we want to change in it. And then we'll look at probably the 8th of February. I think it's the 8th of February that we'd be looking at. So then we'd go on the meeting on the 11th, we can talk about it, see what we think. And then we can come back with our thoughts for the 8th of February. So go.
Some of this, well, quite a bit when I was just skimming through it, there's some of the things that's gonna be difficult because I haven't been in a year cycle with him to evaluate him. It's gonna be kind of difficult because some of these come later in the year, which.
I mean, it's always been important to the board in the past few years, not necessarily the last couple, but the past few years of evaluating the town manager. I mean, we can do it however you want to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean to be this formal, but however you guys want to do it, we can do it. I mean, we can talk a little bit more about it in January and kind of get an idea. I mean, is that?
I'm always open to whatever way the board wants to do it. I don't have to be there when you discuss it. If you'd rather do it without me there, that's fine. I like being there when you discuss it and in executive session, and so it gives us a chance to have a good back and forth.
And what I was talking about was that this doesn't need to be as formal as this. We can come up with different categories.
You certainly can change that,
We can change
right.
things around. I mean, I know with Ron and George, in the past couple of years, they've wanted to be here to do it do it together.
Right.
I mean, the previous guys wanted to put their thoughts down, get it all compiled into one document and bring it back to the town manager. So, I mean.
I like doing it the way that we've done the last couple of years, whereas we sat here with this, you've made your notes yourself. And then we've sat here and discussed that category of where the town manager fits in there from highly effective to unacceptable, all right? And kind of the majority kind of rule here of where he should be or where he is and what we expect from him. Other than that, you're going through it too many darn times. You fill it out here and then you go over it again and then you discuss it again. It keeps it more simple. And then if I say, well, I don't agree with this because of this, then you have a right to question me. Maybe you can change my mind that he did do right or he should have done better. That's what I liked. I liked it open, and I like the idea that the town manager likes to be there, because if you're not gonna say it to his face, don't put it on paper.
And we do have, Mr. Gopi, we do have 3 people here who have been here for the whole time. So I mean, I think if we all throw our 2 cents worth in, we should be able to come up with something. We will need a scribe, though. We did lose our scribe in Jack, so we will need a scribe, and it will not be me. So
Between you two, flip a coin.
That usually falls to the vice chair, but we've seen his handwriting.
Give him a computer, he can pick away.
So we'll probably talk about that on the 25th of January, and then February 8th we can do the evaluation, put that on the agenda. Barring a snowstorm and COVID, we should be okay.
Right up.
All right, looking Selectmen's concerns, Mr. Moody,
Nope, I think we hit them all
Mr.
tonight.
Savage.
Just one question, what's the status of employees with the sheriff's department's contract? I'm hearing all kinds of rumors out there that we're down to like 2 people now.
We, Deputy Lafreniere went from the Madison division to the county. We interviewed, and I say we, they interviewed, and they let me in on the interviews. An individual that should start to replace him in January. So they have filled that position. So that gives us the new deputy, Deputy Mary, Deputy Dyer, and Deputy Wood. Deputy Dyer, as I sent over the email, he has resigned to pursue a career in the car business, which I cannot blame anyone to pursue a career in the car business. But that leaves his position open as effective January. And they have begun interviewing for that position. So it's the status, from what I'm being told, it's the status of many police forces around the state.
Well, it just seems like in the last, I think we've had this conversation before, in last year, we've never really exceeded 3 people working for the town at $480-some thousand.
Last
That's a
year,
lot of money.
last year was the first year that we had at least 9 months of 4 deputies. So,
Just curious, was 6 of it at the academy?
as far as,
For paying someone, someone at the
no,
academy?
last year was the first year that we had everybody academy trained. But and so that was our first year that we didn't have a deputy in the academy, and we had a majority of the year with 4 Madison deputies. So you're right, it has been a struggle.
But we just had an hour conversation over 140,000, and this is 500,000, and we can't fill the slots. I mean,
So just real quickly here, because I've had this conversation before. You're at the point there at 450,000, and we have budgeted 450 or thereabouts for the last 4 or 5 years. We get a refund back. This year we got the smallest refund back of about 26,000. So you could say with majority of the year at 4 deputies, that net cost was about 420, somewhere in that neighborhood. If you were to reduce to 3 deputies and close the office there in Madison and just say, we're gonna pay the county for 3 more deputies for Madison, you're gonna end up paying over 400,000. Because each of those county deputies gets a vehicle with them, a take-home vehicle. So, you know, your other option could be you could reduce and keep the office open and have 3 deputies, but we've committed to the school for an SRO. So, you know, I think what we've got right now, even though that we've not been able to keep those positions filled all year, is the best model out there.
just I guess a comment on the assigned cars. I don't come through town too late at night anymore, but there's never any there, and there's never 3 people working, so I'm assuming that's already happening. And that's just an assumption. I mean, we could probably go by when we leave here and find there's no cruisers parked there, and I do believe the town's bought 3 of them, so. Well, his report shows we have 3 of them, so.
Right.
So
So
you're
I
saying,
can only assume they're being taken home already, so I struggle with that number.
so you're saying that they're taking our cars home?
I would assume, I mean, there's nobody working midnight to 6, and there's not usually any cars parked down there.
Hmm.
And again, it's just an assumption on observation.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't come into town that late at night if I can help it.
I don't go out that late enough, I can help it.
I don't blame you.
Nothing good happens.
Like I said, it just seems like every
all the
few
time.
months we're talking about someone leaving and replacing or
Yeah.
left, and it's,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that would be a good thing to find out if they're taking those cars home.
Mhm.
And does Officer Mary, did she work just in the school? Or is she out patrolling and?
So she has a regular 42-hour schedule that she has shifts that she fills outside of the school. So she's not just in the school. So if there's weekend shifts or evening shifts or holidays when the school is closed, she's picking up those shifts. So she works full-time.
Woody?
Why don't we have, to address Dave's question, why don't we just have the sheriff come in here and explain that to you? Simple. Because I know all agencies are in the same boat. You cannot hire police officers today. Nobody wants the job. Nobody wants it. And the way the country's going, I don't blame them. So, you know, he could explain to you if and why they are taking cruisers home, if they're not, or why they are, and where where the blue pins are out there, because there are no blue pins to grab from. Now, when I'm talking blue pins, academy graduates, what they call a blue pin. There's just nothing there to call from.
Probably already.
And the big thing now is if there is one available, they're shopping.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to work to you because I can make $50 a week more, or I can go to work for you and make $50 less. Where you gonna go?
Just on what Mr. Moody's saying, I don't disagree with you, but I know a couple of them that started here and just moved into full-time patrol for the county, so
Yeah,
we as taxpayers are footing the bill for the $1 million to the county, then we're also spending $500,000 or $420,000 to train these people for him to keep taking them. And there's no buyout, because it's that department.
it doesn't make any, and you're right, you're right, but it doesn't make any difference whether they're coming from here, or they're coming from Skowhegan, or they're coming from Fairfield. You know, if they want that transfer, they're gonna get it.
Right.
Mrs. Dwyer, anything else?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
All right. The only thing I have is I would like to ask the board or ask Tim to put a letter together to Central Maine Power and ask them if they can beef up their trimming of trees around the town. And last week we had a snowstorm. I mean, I don't think it was much more than a snowstorm, and it is a complete disaster. I mean, Jeff was one of them. It was out of power until Wednesday or Thursday. You know, I mean, we're not really off the beaten path. So, I mean, I think, you know, when you look at 148, and, you know, there's trees in the wires.
Not now, they cut all 4 of them now.
But the tree is still there.
Yeah.
The piece is still there. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
So, I mean, there's 2 or 3 pieces there. I mean, a letter well crafted with your ability to, you know, make them feel good, but also tell them how we're, you know, we need to do. And in talking with Jeff this morning, Jeff said, you know, that the problem might be 5 miles up the road. It might be a lot. It depends on where your power's coming from, and you know that makes sense. But I mean, is there any way that we can enlist when Madison Electric is done, that we enlist them into working for Central Maine to get some of this cleaned up? I mean, these are our residents that, you know, Blackwell Hill, you know, Russell Road, River Road,
All of East Madison.
all of East Madison. I mean, these are our residents, and this is so, I mean, if we get another snowstorm this weekend, is the same thing gonna happen? I mean, because that to me is not really acceptable. Not a lot I can do about it, but I think we have to ask. I mean, Madison Electric's so efficient that they set a pretty high standards.
Is that letter going to Spain?
Oh, we must have somebody this
I've
year.
got some contacts with
That's
them.
what again.
You know, so I guess maybe instead of, you know, on December 14th, having all these tree trimming trucks in the area from all over the place, maybe we get them in July and try to you know, mitigate the circumstances. So, and my house had power, so I don't know. Citizens' concerns? I guess not.
Kathy, you wait? No, I think she's falling asleep.
Okay. Looking for motion to adjourn?
So,
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. You're adjourned at 7:39.